And the turning place is good. I have confidence. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make some more. Okay, here's the thing. My next kid isn't until 3 o'clock.
What's your name?
My name is Clay Marie.
And where do you work?
I work at Hidden Gems Thrift Store.
What do you like most about working at Hidden Gems?
Honestly, when we get donations, I get to go through them first and kind of just pick out what I want for myself.
And what do you do outside of working?
I do a lot of drag shows on my spare time.
Where can we catch you performing?
I perform a lot at Badlands. It's a place downtown.
And how long have you been working here for?
I have been working here since September of last year.
And is there anything you want to say to everyone?
Come to the store. It's really a hidden gem here. You'll find a lot of great clothing and other stuff.
My name is Passion Bailey, and I have been in business since 2019. We opened up right before the pandemic, and we made it through. We're here now.
Yay! And is there anything special about your boutique that sets it apart from other boutiques here in Sacramento?
I think the main thing is we're Black owned, and when you step in the store, you'll definitely notice that we have a lot of Black history books and different artworks, and but overall, we just have a lot of quality in any other thrift store.
Okay, so what keeps you so motivated in such a great mood?
Oh, wow. Just like any other human, I'm not always in a great mood, but I think just the love that I have for what I do, working with people who are wonderful people, and what keeps me in a great mood is just loving what I do. There is times that I have bad days like anybody else, but overall, I want to have great energy, and hopefully that energy will flow back to me.
Okay, yes, a lot of give and flow.
Give and flow, yeah. You gotta, it's just sometimes, like I said, like any human, we might have some difficulties and have hard times, but I feel like if you just try to stay positive and look on the bright side, eventually things will turn around.
Okay, so I guess the next question is, as a Black woman and business owner, what advice can you give to other Black women on their entrepreneurial journey?
The main advice is just getting all the information you can before you jump in. They have lots of programs that can help you. Like I went to SCORE, and I found out a lot about your taxes and licensing and permits that you may need, things like that. Because once you get in business, you want to be legit. You want to make sure you have things in order.
Okay, yes. Do you think that for most people starting their business, going with like a business plan would be a good idea, or do you think that they should have a little bit of experience as they're trying to get their feet wet and trying to be a business owner?
I think all of that business plan. If you have the opportunity, test the waters before you get in. That's all good. Just preparing. And knowing that there's going to be some tough times that you might feel like giving up, but if it's a passion of yours, or if it's something you truly believe in, just keep going. Because they say that. I've heard different years. Some people say after 3 years, the business is tough until 3 years, or after 5 years. I've heard 7 years. But the bottom line is, if you're really passionate about the business, just keep going, because you're going to have bad days. You're going to feel like, what did I do this for? But if you stay consistent and stay on it, and then you may come to a point where you feel like you want to go different avenues, but just knowing the business, knowing what you're getting into before you get in.
Are there any events or deals that you would like to tell everyone about?
Yeah, so for our summer deal, we're having a sale on all our shoes. they're going to be like $5 for all the shoes. I did want to. We have a book club that I'm very passionate about, and it's called Crystal Bowl Book Club. And so I want people to get involved with that too.
Yeah, tell us about the book club.
Oh gosh, so the book club it's been around since 2012. It's and really the book club and the thrift store is like connected.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole reason why I started liking books was because my mom used to go to thrift stores all the time, and I hated going to thrift stores. So I would like sneak back in the back so nobody see me. But there was a book area in the back, so I started looking into it. And I just got like started liking these books, and I would take home cookbooks, like old Bibles, just nothing. It was just I don't know the idea of the book, and most of the time I didn't. It wasn't like I was getting books to actually read. I was just collecting them, you know. And so, fast forward, my husband, well, we weren't married at the time, but he's very social. He has all these different clubs, bike clubs, and so he told me, he says, "Hey, you got all these books everywhere. Why don't you start a book club?" And I was like, "Oh, a book club, you know?" And so. And that was in 2012, and I've always been like a loner, you know. But it opened the doors to this whole new world for me, and I met so many wonderful people that love books like I did. And I started the book club, and you know we were reading books. But I actually met through my literacy or book journey. I met an activist. And we started working together, and he talked about like how he thought about owning a thrift store. And I thought about it too, because I thought, well, I wanted to pay homage to my mom and my grandma loved thrift stores. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have found books. And I thought, I want to have a thrift store with books, a lot of books in there. And so anyway, that's how that all started. And I got the thrift store. I still have the book. The book club has, since the thrift store started, kind of died out a little bit because I just didn't have the energy to do both, you know, because I was really, really in the community. It turned into this whole thing. We gave away thousands of books by Black authors in the community of Sacramento. But I want to get that started again. I want to get back, because now thrift stores kind of, I've found my comfort spot with it. You know, it kind of runs itself per se. Well, not really, but I want to get my book club back started because it really brought me a lot of joy. And so we meet once a month on Zoom. It's Crystal Ball Book Club. You can find us on Facebook. And so that's another passion of mine. And just coming in and seeing what we have here. And you want to just stop by and chit chat for a little bit.
Miss Passion, if you could tell us about where you're from, your hometown, and why you wanted to be a boutique owner.
I was born and raised in Sacramento. And my mother actually was born in Madeira, California. It's kind of more south,
Okay, yeah.
towards Fresno. And but then she found her way to Sacramento, and she met my father. She met my father. My mom, this is so funny. My mom was like, I teased her and said, "You were the first cougar of Sacramento." Because my dad is a lot younger than my mom, but they made it work. And so, so I went to school out here. I don't know, like, how deep you want me to go into.
Oh, well, let's go, I guess, into the second question, as of, like, you told us a little bit of why you wanted to get into thrifting when you were younger.
Yes.
But is there anything that enticed you in wanting to be, like, a businesswoman? Because you have the book club and you also have the thrift store. And I'm sure you have a lot of other endeavors that you've tried.
Yeah, so, I think that I've always been kind of a go-getter, and I probably got that from my mom and my dad. My mom, she cleaned houses, and she always talked about owning her own janitorial service. And so she kind of got me in the mindset of owning your own business, you know. And my dad, he now owns his own Kirby business. It's funny, I didn't even think how they both was into cleaning, but so yeah. But I always was a go-getter. I think as soon as I was 15, about to go on, I was like looking for a job, because they always say you gotta be 16 before you can work. So when I turned 16, I had a job lined up for me already, and so I've always found a way to, you know, make money. Well, going back a little bit, just entrepreneurship, I think actually it probably started when I was in grade school, because I would go, my mom would take me to the store, and they sold these little whoopee cushions in a bag, like a little package, and it wasn't expensive, but I thought, oh, I can buy more and sell them at school because they would like it, and so that went well. And then I was selling some candy, like there's these little, I think they were called cherry bombs or something. I started selling those at school, so I think it's always just been in me to do that. And so, but going back, when I was legal enough to work, I always worked. I think my early 20s, I started working in the sales department. And even though I was working for a corporation, when you're in sales, it's kind of almost like your own business, because you're not on a limited income most of the time. You know, you might, like for us, we had a base pay, but then there was commission. And I did really well in that, in working in the sales department. I always just thought of creative ways. For a long time, I had a hair business. I learned how to braid hair at a young age, and I would braid hair for family members or friends, and never really thought about it as a business until a guy that was doing my taxes, he said, you know, you don't have kids and you're making this money, you need to have some write-offs, you know. And he said, have you ever thought about having your own business? And I was like, no. He said, well, you braid hair, you know, maybe you can. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe I can. And so back then, I don't think there was any kind of, they weren't able to license hair braiding back then. So you could just get a business license and you don't have to get a permit or have any hours, you know. And so from there, the same tax guy called me, and he said, can you really braid hair? I said, I've never had any complaints. And he says, well, I have the WNBA people, you know, some of the team wants their hair braided. And so I was like, okay. And so I braided it was mostly rookies that I would go and braid their hair. But then I started braiding Yolanda Griffith. I started braiding her hair.
No way.
Yeah, I have pictures and everything. And so I was really like thinking, okay, I'm going to get a salon, you know, I'm going to do this. But I was braiding hair. My dad talked me out of getting a salon. He said, why don't you get your feet wet? You know, I have this guy I know, he has a barbershop. You can braid hair in there and then build up your clientele. And so I was like, okay, so that worked. But then I was braiding hair. I was working for Mary Kay. I started a business in Mary Kay.
We all did.
I think that, you know, just looking back, I think that I've always been into fashion and beauty and things like that. I also, when I was young, like 16, I wanted to be a model. And so I got with John Casablancas. You probably don't know. They were out here. That was back in the 90s. And they had, I think my mom, I forget, it was a low number that my mom paid for me to go through it, because I wanted to go do Barbizon. Was it Barbizon?
Yeah.
And the price was ridiculous for what they were giving you. And so I found John Casablancas, which was like a fraction of the cost, and they still gave you the same classes. They sent you on rehearsals and things like that. So yeah, I've always kind of been into like beauty, fashion, and all those things. My mom, I feel like, well, my dad too. My dad and his mother has always been into like like my grandma's house, she lived in the hood, but you walk in her house and you would think she was in somewhere else. You know, it wasn't in the hood. And my dad was always into how he dressed, and he had the biggest afro until he decided to get a perm or press it out, and he could tell that story better. But my mom was always known to dress really nice, and she said, and I asked my mom, well, how did you know? You know, because your family, you know, just the way her family was. She said they couldn't afford a TV, because my mom was raised by her grandmother who was poor, so she would go to people, her friends' house who had TVs, and she said she would watch how the people on TV would dress, and so she would get little side like jobs and find ways to make money, and she would go to discount stores and buy clothes from them to look, so she would look nice.
Yes.
And so so I think that's kind of, I don't know, I think it was just in her for some kind of way, because I just remember my mom always dressing nice, you know. And so when she got older, I guess she kind of kept that whole mindset of getting nice stuff, but finding a way to get it at a discount. And so when I was younger, like even my mom's house was really decorated nice, and I didn't realize it until my dad's mom told me years later that her and my mom used to go thrifting, and my mom had an eye for expensive stuff, and she would befriend the thrift store owners. So they would put good stuff to the side and wait until she got there, and they would give it to her or sell it to her.
Okay.
And so it just, I don't, between my mom, and it's so funny because my mom's mom passed away when she was a baby. So her and my dad's mom was close, you know. And they both kind of was the same way as far as having their house decorated nice and dressing nicely. And so, I don't know, it just kind of, here I am. So now people are making friends with me and like, hey, you got something? What do you have, Passion?
Good. Do you have a favorite dish?
Ooh. All over the place. I don't eat any pork. I don't eat any beef. But I don't have a favorite dish, but I think that I could probably eat Chinese food every day.
Okay. Chinese food is good.
It is.
And if there's something that you would like to tell everyone, and then also where your store is located.
I think the main thing is just continue to support black businesses, and try to support the smaller black businesses because they really need it. Like the building here is under construction. We had a fire, but the fire wasn't then due to damage. The water to get rid of the small fire is what did most of the damage. But it's a good thing because now there's new floors and painting inside. But while they were doing a remodeling, a lot of the people who were inside, the business owners, they can't be in their store. And so a few of them is set up in the front, and most of them are little ladies, and they need our help. I mean, they need our support. And so find small black-owned businesses to support, especially women.
Yes. And then where's your store located?
Oh, the store is located in South Sacramento, 2251 Florin Road. Zip code is 95822. We're on the corner of 24th and Florin.